I knew in January, by the way, that God was like, I have something else for you to do. I don't want you working where you are anymore. It's not good for you. But like I said, I was making money, and I was like, that's really important. I've got a wife and a child now, and I got to make money. And yeah, so I get really, really sick. I can't work. I go to the doctors to get another scope done at supposedly one of the leading medical centers in the region, supposedly. And I spent about $7,000 in scopes, upper and lower, to have my abdominal and everything checked out. He comes in and says, you might have IBS. Change your diet. All I can do. Have a good day. And he walks out. Our associate pastor had gone with me to take me to these tests. And I just look at him and he goes, seriously? And I'm like, yeah. So I get a copy of everything. I go to a different doctor who actually tells me some dietary changes to make and gives me some medication. Well, this lovely medication makes me very dizzy, which causes me to slip and fall and to hit my head off the stove and then the floor, causing a secondary concussion. By the way, a severe concussion like I suffered takes a good 2 to 3 years to heal. Thankfully, I believe I am reaching the end of that. Currently, as I'm talking to you, my body is pretty weak, but I think it's I recently bruised my ribs, and I think it's from the heavy pain medication. My body doesn't respond well to it. It gives me some really weird after effects after like a few weeks, and I have to detox, which is what I'm doing right now. So I'm detoxing all this frustration out of me to you all. No, anyway, so now I can't walk. Well, see, you have a problem. If you're going to deal with the stomach issues I have, you need to be able to exercise and to eat right. But if you can't walk, you can't do that. But if you can't sleep, concussions don't heal. So I'm in this really nasty cycle. This whole time, I stumbled back into pornography last summer, and a lot of masturbation. And coming the end of July, before we get to that, back in March of last year, I rediscovered Kent Hovind with Sam. And as we've mentioned before in our interview with Paul Hansen,
Yep.
when I was in high school, I was a huge fan. I loved Kent Hovind. Great debater. Probably the best creationist debater I've ever seen. Okay. Listen, Ken Ham did a pretty good job with Bill Nye. Ken Hovind would have knocked him on his butt and sent him home packing. Okay?
Totally.
But that's not a blast to Ken Ham at all, okay?
No.
Ken Ham is not a debater. Okay? Ken Ham is a scientist. It's just what God made him to do. God made Kent to be a debater. Fantastic presentation. Anyway, well, I discover all of Kent's college courses online, and I go through them all. I watch them, how to do the creation seminars, all the information. It's really great. I'm super encouraged. Come to find out that Kent actually did nothing wrong, as we had referenced,
Yep.
other than hiring an attorney. Bad plan. And so it was like, during this whole time, again, there's that struggle in me. I'm really falling back into the sexual impurity stuff, but at the same time, I'm listening to Kent Hovind a lot. I mean, it's pouring in. I mean, I listened to his seminars so much last year that I can quote whole parts of them. Anyway, come the end of July, I get to a point where I'm like, I got to deal with this. I find out about settingcaptivesfree.com. I go there. I get set up. I start the purity course. And you have to understand, up until this point with the concussion, I was able to function, but my normal, what I call my normal brain functions weren't there. Normally, I can read or hear something once or twice, and I'll generally remember what it was about. And by generally, I can recall a fairly good amount of detail. I don't have quite a photographic memory, but it's pretty close. 2 or 3 times is something, and I'll have it. I'll have taken it in, processed, and I'll know what it's about and be able to reproduce it for you. And when I started to get really things back right with the Lord, and I told my wife what was going on and confessed it and got help, it was like this fog started to lift and my brain turned back on, and then I really started listening to Kent Hovind, and it started like cataloging in my head, like evidences and things that he had given me, scriptures that I had learned that I thought I had forgotten. Like my memory recall started coming back.
So when you came to terms with some of those things that you just couldn't let go of, that you were constantly doing, but like when you came to the terms with that and you admitted that to your wife, that was kind of like the catalyst.
Here's the thing
like
about
the burden was lifted. I mean,
well, bringing it into the light.
yes.
Sin and its grip cannot survive in the light. So when I came to Elizabeth and I confessed everything, I even went over things that we had gone over, like the girls I met with in high school. You know, things I'd gone over with her before we got married. And I laid it out, everything I'd ever done. It was hard and it hurt her to have to hear some of it again and to hear that I had continued in some things, especially so recently with the birth of a child, or had gotten back into, I should say. But here's the thing. You drag sin into the light, it loses its power. It's hard. Okay? If you've had an affair, I know it's going to be hard. It's going to suck. And here's what I have to say, and not everyone shares my view of this.
You didn't have an affair.
No.
To clarify. Because
I am going to clarify right now.
Yeah, okay.
Christ said that if you have looked at a woman with lust in your heart, you've already committed adultery.
Right.
So when I told Elizabeth this, I explained this to her, and I said, you need to understand that I had an affair. Like, that is the emotional depth that you need to take this to, because that is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Within my heart, I might as well have. I might as well have just met a woman on the street and had, saw her in the mall and had sex with her in the car. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I can't stress that enough to guys. We're just, oh no, I'm just thinking about her. It's not. No, it's the same thing. It is the same exact thing. And anyways, that was hard for her to hear, and that was hard for me to come to grips with. I'm an adulterer. Okay. Now I've only done it with my heart. I haven't done it physically, but that doesn't matter to Christ. The heart issue, the sin issue, is the same. It's not easy to deal with, but you know what? Bring it to the light. And guys, here's what I'm going to tell you. Please don't listen to this interview and be like, oh, I'm having an affair, or I've been really sucked in pornography. I'm going to go tell my wife everything tonight and it'll all be better. No. Slow your roll. Call your pastor. Call a mature man of God that you trust. Tell him what's going on. Start setting captives free. They assign you a mentor who will talk to you every day about your course, ask you questions, where you're at. Get advice, because here's the thing. A lot of guys have done that course and they fly into just confessing everything, and it does a lot more damage than it does good, because you're excited, you're hurt and ashamed, but at the same time you're excited, like, it's in the open, it's in the light, and you can literally start to feel it lose its grip and its power on you.
Yes.
It's like, what do you have now? Because why did you continue in it? Well, I don't want my wife to know. I can't tell her, but I hide this from her. I'm ashamed. But man, we just haven't had sex in a while, and I really got to satisfy myself. But I can't tell her that I've been doing that, and I don't want to tell that. I don't want to tell her that. Yeah, I don't want to masturbate. So can we please have sex? And your wife is more than an object. It's more than about sex. But sometimes, honestly, I've had to say that, honey, I am really desirous right now, and I need your help in one form or another. And I mean, hey, that's why God gave us a wife. I mean, that's where those emotions go, and they should go there, in those feelings. But what I'm getting at is, if you get you throw it in there, and your wife is going to hurt deeply, no matter what. And in a way, she has to grieve and work through it. Now, Elizabeth she did well with it, but do it wisely. Don't go in and give her every detail of, every fantasy you've ever had or every affair you've ever had. Just if you've had an affair or you've been lusting, tell her what I told my wife. I've committed adultery. I've looked at women, and I let it go, and I do it again and again and again. And I look at pornography. But I don't tell her exactly what I fantasized, or don't tell her, like, I had an affair and it was really good and we tried this position, and no, don't do that. Okay. She doesn't need the details. The calling your sin out for what it is enough, and bringing it into the light. Anyway, so yeah, in a way that was the catalyst, bringing it into the light with God, bringing it to the light with my wife, bringing it into the light with my accountability
But
partners.
how about like the acceptance, like your wife,
her forgiving and accepting
the
back
forgiveness. Is that like
was huge,
amazing?
yes,
I mean, yeah,
very much so. And it's I mean, and like I said, I still struggle with my thought life, guys. It's really hard to get a handle on, and I'm not perfect. I'm gonna fall. But the key is to not let it become a habit. Furthermore, when you catch yourself, dude, stop. You're gonna know. Don't be like, oh, I didn't think about it. Please, if you have confessed this and you're getting right with the Lord, the Spirit is screaming inside of you.
Yep.
Knock it off, and it you'll know. But anyway, so yes, the acceptance from her, the forgiveness, and life got so much better once she knew. We went to the beach at the end of last summer down at my grandparents'. They have a beachfront hotel where they own part of it and work there with other family. And we're the town beach that they're with. They're very nice, very appropriate. It's a very kind of Christian town. Walk further up the boardwalk though, and you are in I forget the name of it, but it's in Dogma. That beach where God gets captured.
Yeah.
Asbury Park. There we go.
Yeah. That's where
literally that's the next one up from Ocean Grove where we were.
That's where the Skate and Surf Fest is,
yes,
and the Bamboozle and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Asbury Park, New Jersey. Everyone in Ocean Grove, New Jersey, and we're walking up there, and man, I mean, you got girls in bikinis everywhere, and I'm like basically looking at the floor, and Elizabeth she takes me by the hand, turns, and we go to walk out off that part of the boardwalk out of that part of town, and it's great. Because my wife knows now. She looks out for me. So not only am I holding myself accountable, she's holding me accountable. But more than that, she gets to protect her husband. And her husband wants that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And that really, that in itself deepened our relationship.
Definitely.
But okay. So anyway, back to Kent Hovind. I think part of it was, and I lost my job during the course of this time, by the way. They couldn't keep me on because the doctor said, I don't really know what's wrong. Just change your diet. I couldn't get anyone to take me out of work legitimately, so I ended up losing my job. And during this time, I'm listening to Ken Hovind like a madman. I've gone down deep on the Nephilim. Now I'm going down deep on creationism again. I love creationism, and let me tell you why. Because everyone has an opinion about this topic of evolution, creation. Either they agree with evolution, they agree with creationism, or they don't know. To one degree or another in one of those camps, whether that's intelligent design, which is really on the fringe of creationism, or to the point of, I believe we came from rocks that it rained on for millions of years. It made a soup.
Yep.
So I'm going through all this stuff with Ken Hovind. At the same time, I'm really encouraged. I love creationism. I'm getting to use it. I actually had a couple opportunities last summer to use it as a point of evangelism when I was able to get out of the house. I'm starting to heal. Again, my chiropractor and my nutritionist. Again, not doctors. And at the same time, I need job. I need work. I'm not going to do what I did before. I'm just going to putz around. I'm like, okay, God, I need a job. So I'd gotten this book, 48 Days to the Work You Love by Dan Miller. He's part of the Dave Ramsey financial team, or it used to be. And I wouldn't endorse everything that they say, but it was really good. And I started reading it, and it was a lot of really good practical, everyday Christian living advice about having a well-balanced life and that success doesn't just come from work. But it really helped me work through the process of, okay, God, not I need a job, but what do you want me to do? What do you have for me right now? And I had a couple options. You may know what Samaritan's Purse is. Some of you may have heard of that. It is probably the largest legitimate evangelical disaster relief organization out there. Founded by Billy Graham's son, Franklin Graham.